Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 11, verse 26. Onwards, we'll be reading today. And I would like to wish everyone who are observing Pashva Ekadashi today a very happy Ekadashi, and also Vaman Dev's appearance day today. Vaman Dev ki jai. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamham vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Gauridas Pandita Yanra Premo Dand Bhakti Krishna Prema Dite Nite Dhare Mahashakti. Translation: Gauridas Pandit, the emblem of the most elevated devotional service and love of the Godhead, had the greatest potency to receive and deliver such love. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, it is said that Gauridas Pandit was always patronized by King Krishnadas, the son of Hari Hoda. Gauridas Pandit lived in the village of Shaligram, which is situated a few miles from the railway station Mudagacha, and later he came to reside in Ambika Kalana. It is stated in Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 128 that formerly he was Subal, one of the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna. So he was one of the Gopas, famous Subala and Balram in Vrindavan. Gauridas Pandit was the younger brother of Suryadas Sarakhela, and with the permission of his elder brother, he shifted his residence to the bank of the Ganges, living there in the town known as Ambika Kalana. Some of the names of the descendants of Gauridas Pandit are as follows: Shri Nrsimha Chaitanya Krishnadas, Vishnudas, Bada Balram Das, Govinda Raghunath, Badu Gangadas, Auliya Gangaram, Yadavacharya, Hriday Chaitanya, Chand Haladara, Mahesh Pandit, Mukut Rai, Bhatuya Gangaram, Auliya Chaitanya, Kaliya Krishnadas, Patuya Gopal, Bada Jagannath, Nityananda, Bhavi, Jagdish, Raja Krishnadas, and Annapurna. The eldest son of Gauridas Pandit was known as Big Balram, and the youngest was known as Raghunath. The sons of Raghunath were Mahesh Pandit and Govinda. Gauridas Pandit's daughter was known as Annapurna. The village Ambika Kalana, which is situated just across the river Ganges from Shantipur, is 2 miles east of the Kalana Kota railway station on the Eastern Railway. In Ambika Kalana, there is a temple constructed by the Zamindar of Burdwan. In front of the temple, there is a big tamarind tree, and it is said that Gauridas Pandit and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met underneath this tree. The place where it is situated is known as Ambika, and because it is in the village is known as Ambika Kalana. It is said that a copy of the Bhagavad Gita written by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu still exists in this temple. So the Ambika Kalana. The temple is Ambika and the area is Kalna, so the village is known as Ambika Kalna. So it's very important to know that this is the place and this is the temple where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's the Bhagavad Gita written by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is still there. As we know, Mahaprabhu is Krishna in Radharani's mood itself. Verse 27, Nityanande Samarpila Jati Kula Panti Sri Chaitanya Nityanande Kari Pranapati. Making Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda the lords of his life, Gauridas Pandit sacrificed everything for the service of Lord Nityananda, even the fellowship of his own family. Verse 28, Nityananda Prabhura Priya Pandita Purandara Premar Nava Madhya Phire Yechana Mandara. Mandara is the Mandara hill. Yechana is exactly like. And Prem Arnava Madhya means in the ocean of love of Godhead. The 13th important devotee of Sri Nityananda Prabhu was Pandit Purandar, who moved in the ocean of love of Godhead, just like the Mandar hill. Purport: Pandit Purandar met Sri Nityananda Prabhu at Khadada. When Nityananda Prabhu visited this village, he danced very uncommonly, and his dancing captivated Purandar Pandit. The Pandit was in the top of a tree, and upon seeing the dancing of Nityananda, he jumped down on the ground and proclaimed himself to be Angad, one of the devotees in the camp of Hanuman during the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra. So Pandit Purandar was Angad, one of the devotees in the camp of Hanuman during the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra. Verse 29, Parmeshwar Das Nityanandayaka Sharana Krishna Bhakti Paye Tanre Ye Kare Smarana. Parmeshwar Das, said to be the fifth Gopal of Krishna Lila, completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Nityanand. Anyone who remembers his name, Parmeshwar Das, will get love of Krishna very easily. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, the Chaitanya Bhagavat states that Parmeshwar Das, known sometimes as Parmeshwari Das, was the life and soul of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. The body of Parmeshwar Das was the place of Lord Nityananda's pastimes. Parmeshwar Das, who lived for some time at Khadadaha village, was always filled with the ecstasy of a cowherd boy. Formerly he was Arjuna, a friend of Krishna and Balram. He was the fifth among the 12 Gopals. He accompanied Srimati Janava Devi when she performed the festival at Ketari. It is stated in the Bhakti Ratnakar that by the order of Srimati Janava Mata, he installed Radha Gopinath in the temple at Atapura in the district of Hooghly. The Atapura station is on the narrow gauge railway station line between Howrah and Amata. Another temple in Atapura, established by the Mitra family, is known as Radha Govinda Temple. In front of the temple, in a very attractive place among two bakula trees and a kadamba tree, is the tomb of Parmeshwari Thakur. And above it is an altar with the tulsi bush. It is said that only one flower a year comes out of the kadamba tree, and it is offered to the deity. And we all know that in Vrindavan, the kadam trees were very favorite of Krishna as well. Parmeshwari Thakur belonged, it is said, to a Vaidya family. A descendant of his brothers is at present a worshipper in the temple. Some of their family members still reside in the district of Hooghly near the post office of, is it Chandital or is it Kandital? The descendants of Parmeshwari Thakur took many disciples from Brahmana families. But as these descendants gradually took to the profession of physicians, persons from Brahmana families ceased becoming their disciples. The family titles of Parmeshwari descendants are Adhikari and Gupta. Unfortunately, his family members do not worship the deity directly. They have engaged paid brahmanas to worship the deity. In the temple, Baladev and Sri Radha Gopinath are together on the throne. It is supposed that the deity of Baladev was installed later because, according to transcendental mellow, Baladev, Krishna and Radha cannot stay on the same throne. On the full moon day of Vaishakh, which is April and May, the disappearance festival of Parmeshwari Thakur is observed in this temple. Verse 30, Jagdish Pandita Hai Jagat Pavana Krishna Premamrita Varshe Yena Varsha Ghana. Jagdish Pandit, the 15th branch of Nityananda's followers, was the deliverer of the entire world. Devotional love of Krishna showered from him like torrents of rain. Purport: Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, descriptions of Jagdish Pandit are available from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Khand, chapter 6, and the Chaitanya Charitamrit, Adi Lila, chapter 14. He belonged to the village of Yashada Gram in the district of Nadia near the Chakda railway station. His father, the son of Bhattanarayan, was named Kamalaksha. Both his father and mother were great devotees of Lord Vishnu, and after their death, Jagdish with his wife Dukhini and brother Mahesh left his birthplace and came to Sri Mayapur to live in the company of Jagannath Mishra and other Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya asked Jagdish to go to the Jagannath Puri to preach the Harinam Sankirtan movement. After returning from Jagannath Puri on the order of Lord Jagannath, he established deities of Jagannath in the village of Yashada Grama. It is said that when Jagdish Pandit brought the deity of Jagannath to Yashada Gram, he tied the heavy deity to a stick and thus brought him to the village. The priests of the temple still show the stick used by Jagdish Pandit to carry the Jagannath deity. Verse 31. Nityananda Priya Bhritya Pandit Dhananjay Atyanta Virkat Sada Krishna Premamaya. The 16th dear servant of Nityananda Prabhu was Dhananjay Pandit. He was very much renounced and always merged in love of Krishna. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Pandit Dhananjay was a resident of the village in Katwa named Shitala. He was one of the 12 Gopals. His former name, according to Gaura Ganodesha Deepika 1-7, was Vasudham. Shitala Grama is situated near the Mangal Kota police station and Khechara post office in the district of Burdwan. On the narrow railway from Burdwan to Katwa is a railway station about 9 miles from Katwa known as Khechara, or is it Kaikara? One has to go about a mile northeast of the station to reach Shitala. The temple was thatched house with walls made of dirt. Some time ago, the zamindars of Baja Ravana Kabashi, the Maliks, constructed a big house for the purpose of a temple. But for the last 65 years, the temple has been broken down and abandoned. The foundation of the old temple is still visible. There is a Tulsi pillar near the temple, and every year during the month of Kartik, which is October and November, the disappearance day of Dhananjay is observed. It is said that for some time Pandit Dhananjay was in Sankirtan party under the direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he went to Vrindavan. Before going to Vrindavan, he lived for some time in a village named Panchada, which is 6 miles of the Memari railway station. Sometimes this village is also known as the place of Dhananjay, which is Dhananjera Pata. After some time, he left the responsibility for worship with a disciple and went back to Vrindavan. After returning from Vrindavan to Shitalagram, he established a deity of Gaurasundar in the temple. The descendants of Pandit Dhananjay still live in Shitalagram and look after the temple worship. Verse 32. Mahesh Pandita Vrajera Udara Gopala Dhaka Raka Vadye Nritya Kare Prema Matoyala. Matoyala is as if a madman. And Dhaka Vadye is the beating of cattle drum. Nritya Kare is used to dance. Udar, very liberal. Vrajera is of Vrindavan. Translation: Mahesh Pandit, the 7th of the 12 Gopalas, was very liberal. In great love of Krishna, he danced to the beating of a kettle drum like a madman. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, the village of Mahesh Pandit, which is known as Palapada, is situated in the district of Nadia within a forest about 1 mile south of the Kakda railway station. The Ganges flows nearby. It is said that formerly Mahesh Pandit lived on the eastern side of Jirat in the village known as Masipura or Yashipura, and when Masipura merged into the riverbed of the Ganges, the deities there were brought to Palapada, which is situated in the midst of various villages as Beledanga, Berigrama, Sukhasagara, Kandude, and Manasa Pota. There are about 14 villages, and the entire neighborhood is known as Panchanagara Paragana. It is mentioned that Mahesh Pandita joined the festival performed by Sri Nityananda Prabhu at Panihati. Narottam Das Thakur also joined in the festival, and Mahesh Pandit saw him on that occasion. In the temple of Mahesh Pandit, there are deities of Gaura Nityananda, Sri Gopalnath, Sri Gopinath, Sri Madan Mohan, and Sri Radha Govinda, as well as Shalagram Shila. Narottam Das Thakur, as we know, is the writer of most of the Vaishnav songs which we sing. Verse 33, Navadvipe Purushottama Pandit Mahashaya Nityanande Name Yanra Maho Unmad Haya. Purushottam Pandit, a resident of Navadvip, was the 8th Gopal. He would become almost mad as soon as he heard the holy name of Nityananda Prabhu. Purport, it is said that Chaitanya Bhagavad that Purushottam Pandit was born in Navadvip and was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. As one of the 12 Gopals, his former name was Stoka Krishna. So Purushottam Pandit was born in Navadvip, great devotee of Nityananda, and he was, as one of the 12 Gopals, his former name was Stoka Krishna. So he was one of the Gopals in the Krishna Leelas. Purushottam Pandit. He was known as Stoka Krishna. Verse 34, Balaram Dasa Krishna Prema Rasa Vadi Nityananda Name Haya Parama Unmadi. Balaram Das always fully tasted the nectar of love of Krishna. Upon hearing the name of Nityananda Prabhu, he would become greatly maddened. Verse 35, Mahabhagavata Yadunatha Kavichandra Yanhara Hridaya Nritya Kare Nityananda. Yadunath Kavichandra was a great devotee. Lord Nityananda Prabhu always danced in his heart. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Khand, chapter 1, it is said that a gentleman known as Ratnagarbha Acharya was a friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father. They had been residents of the same village. Ratnagarbha Acharya had 3 sons, Krishnananda, Jiva, and Yadunath Kavichandra. Verse 36, Radhe Yanra Janma Krishnadas Vijara Srinityanandera Teno Param Kinkara. Kinkara means servant. Teno is he. Dvijavara is the best Brahmin. Radhe means in West Bengal. Here, translation: the 21st devotee of Sri Nityananda in Bengal was Krishnadas Brahmana, who was the first-class servant of the Lord. Purport: in this verse, the word Radhe refers to Radha Desh, the part of Bengal where the Ganges does not flow. So today we know the meaning of the word Radha Desh. It's a place in Bengal where the Ganges does not flow. Verse 37, Kala Krishna Das Bada Vaishnava Pradhan Nityananda Chandra Vinu Nahi Jane An. An means of anything else. The 22nd devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu was Kala Krishna Das, who was the 9th cowherd boy. He was a first-class Vaishnava and he did not know anything beyond Nityananda Prabhu. Purport: in the Gaura Ganudesha Deepika 132, it is said that Kala Krishna Das, who was also known as Kaliya Krishna Das, was formerly Gopa, or a cowherd boy of the name Lavanga. He was one of the 12 cowherd boys. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Kaliya Krishna Das and had his headquarters in a village named Akai Hata, which is situated in the district of Burdwan within the jurisdiction of the post office and police station of Katwa. It is situated on the road to Navadvip. To reach Akai Hata, one has to go from Bandel Junction station to Katwa railway station and then go about 2 miles, or one has to get off at the Dani Hata station and from there go 1 mile. The village of Akai Hata is very small. In the month of Chaitra, on the day of Varuni, there is a festival commemorating the disappearance of Kala Krishnadas. Verse 38, Shri Sadashiv Kaviraj Bada Mahashay Shri Purushottam Das Tanara Tanay. The 23rd and 24th prominent devotees of Nityananda Prabhu were Sadashiv Kaviraj and his son Purushottam Das, who was the 10th Gopal. Tanara Tanay means his son. Verse 39, Ajanma Nimagna Nityanandere Charane Nirantar Balya Lila Kare Krishna Sane. From birth, Purushottam Das was merged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and he always engaged in childish play with the Lord Krishna. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Sadashiv Kaviraj and Nagar Purushottam, who were father and son, are described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat as Mahabhagavan. Greatly fortunate, they belong to the Vaidya caste of physicians. Text 156 of the Gaura Ganudesh Deepika says that Chandravali, the most beloved gopi of Krishna's, later took birth as Sadashiv Kaviraj. In text 194 to 200, it is said that Kamsari Sena, the father of Sadashiv Kaviraj, was formerly the gopi named Ratnavali in Krishna's pastimes. All the family members of the Sadashiv Kaviraj were great devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purushottam Das Thakur sometimes lived at Sukhsagara near the Kakadaha and Shimurali stations. All the deities installed by Purushottam Thakur are formerly situated at Beledanga Gram, but when the temple was destroyed and the deities were brought to Sukhasagar, when that temple merged into the bed of the Ganges, the deities were brought with Janava Mata's deity to Sahib Danga Bedigrama. Since that place also has been destroyed, all the deities are now situated in the village named Kandude Gram, which is situated at 1 mile up from the Palpada as referred to above. So in the diacritics, when there's a dot under the D, so we have to pronounce it just like we say in Hindi and Sanskrit, da, not the or da. So it becomes Palapada. Verse 40, Tanra Putra Mahashay Shri Kanu Thakur Yandra Tehe Rahe Krishna Premamrita Pura. So diacritic under R, we say like V, like Rishi Ji of Hindi Sanskrit. Tanra Putra is his son, Mahashay is a respectable gentleman. Krishna Prema Amritapura is the nectar of devotional service to Krishna. Translation: Shri Kanu Thakur, a very respectable gentleman, was the son of Purushottam Das Thakur. He was such a great devotee that Lord Krishna always lived in his body. So this was Shri Kanu Thakur. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, to go to the headquarters of Kanu Thakur, one has to proceed by boat from the Jikaragacha Ghat station to the railway known as Kapotaksha. Otherwise, if one goes about 2 or 2.5 miles from the Jikaragacha Ghata station, he can see Bodh Khana, the headquarters of Kanu Thakur. The son of Sadashiv was Purushottam Thakur and his son was Kanu Thakur. The descendants of Kanu Thakur know him as Nagar Purushottam. He was a cowherd boy named Dama during the Krishna Lila. It is said that just after the birth of Kanu Thakur, his mother Janava died. When he was about 12 years old, Sri Nityananda Prabhu took him to his home at Kharadaha. It is ascertained that Kanu Thakur was born sometime in Bengal near 942, which is AD, Bengali year 942, which is AD 1535. It is said that he took birth on the Rath Yatra day because he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna from beginning to of his life. Sri Nityananda Prabhu gave him the name Shishu Krishna Das. When he was 5 years old, he went to Vrindavan with Janva Mata and the Goswamis. Upon seeing the ecstatic symptoms of Kanu Thakur, gave him the name Kanai Thakur. In the family of Kanu Thakur, there is Radha Krishna deity known as Pranavallabh. It is said, so dot under the N in diacritics makes a sound na, prana. But if we follow the Hindi Sanskrit pronunciation. It is said that his family worshipped the deity long before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When there was Maharashtrian invasion of Bengal, the family of Kanu Thakur was scattered, and after the invasion, one Hari Krishna Goswami of that family came back to their original home. Both the Khana and re-established the Pranavallabh deity. The descendants of the family still engage in the service of Pranavallabha. Kanu Thakur was present during the Khetari Utsav when Janava Devi and Veerbhadra Goswami were also present. One of the Kanu Thakur's family members, Madhavacharya, married the daughter of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who was named Ganga Devi. Both Purushottam Thakur and Kanu Thakur had many disciples from Brahmana families. Most of the descendants of Kanu Thakur now reside in the village named Gadabheta by the river Shilavati in the Midnapur district. So I think we will continue our reading from verse 41 of the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita next time. Thank you for joining. I wish you all a very blissful day ahead. Please chant and be happy. We are all work in progress. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.